Greetings and welcome to Cooking with Squirrel. If you're new here, I'm the Squirrel. Today we're going to make my meatloaf. It's different enough that I think that it's worth its own recipe. I found a recipe a while back on All Recipes. I will link it below. And it was close to kind of what I wanted, but it wasn't quite there. I switched out a couple things, changed some methodologies. So let's get into the cook and you can see why I think this is the best meatloaf that I've ever had. Vegetable time. All right, very simple. We're going to use a food processor for this. You could also chop everything or mince everything finely, but a food processor is the easiest way to go. So we're just going to take the outsides of this pepper off, get a little more of this outside top part so we don't waste it, compost that. Then these will just get cut, and if you've got any seeds and pith, try and get that out. Didn't cut these very well. And then we're going to kind of rough chop these so they go in the food processor nicely. He's going to... All right. Well, that was a bad shot. I'm going to put that in. I got a guest here today. He's yawning behind the camera like the food I'm making him is boring. That's our pepper rough chopped. Now we're going to take this onion, we're going to take that part off because it's slippery. We take the top and the root off, split it in half, take the outer layer off into the compost, and we'll just quarter what's left there into the bowl. Repeat for the other onion. Now the main thing that I changed in this, and from a lot of meatloaf recipes, is the swap of green peppers to red peppers. I don't particularly like cooked green peppers that much. I do like red peppers. They're sweet, delicious, and I think they add a nice flavor. Now, the nice thing about meatloaf is while the cook time's kind of long, the active time's pretty short. We're almost done with prep already. Okay, I'm going to take these tops off, save them for snacks for later. Take a little bit of the root end off, throw that in the compost. Oh, I should mention a couple things here. One, I'm making a double batch because this is so good. I always make a double batch. I should probably just modify the recipe and make it a double batch as a normal batch. One red bell pepper. You saw I had 3. They were kind of small, so since I'm doing a double and they were small, I went to 3 of them. 3 small ribs of celery. These are a little on the big side, so I only did 5. 1 for the double. 2 medium onions. One for a normal batch. I know that's confusing. I'm sorry. The written instructions will be on the website. Link to that down in the description. There's our celery. Some hit the floor. And I'm going to grab my food processor and I'll be right back. And Magic Cinema, we're back. All right. This is probably too much to do in one batch, so I'll just do about half. Another celery hit the floor. All right. On with our lid. Maybe. That's weird sideways. Okay. Here we go. And we're going to pulse this until it's fairly fine. We don't want to puree it, but we want pretty small. I don't like big chunks of veg in my meatloaf, so here we go. That looks pretty good to me. We will, of course, want to scrape the sides down a little bit. Hit it one more time. There we go. First batch done. And the trick with these, if you didn't know, to keep the blade from falling out when you're dumping stuff, is you put your finger up through the bottom, and actually, you can see it's moving there. I'm holding that with my finger, and then it won't come out when I tip it over. And since that's the first of 2 batches, we don't have to worry about getting it perfectly clean. And with our second batch, that's good. That's good cinnamon right there. You like the back of that bowl? There we go. Second go. Give her the old scrape down. they are. Very finely chopped. Ooh, Lord, I almost broke that. This doesn't need to be perfectly uniform. Close is good enough. Let's scrape this down. And the next step is one of the other modifications that I don't think I've ever seen in a meatloaf recipe. We're actually going to cook this down to cook some of this liquid out so that we don't have like super watery meatloaf. So let me get the burner set up and we'll be right back. All right, we're going to get our burner on high because we're going to cook this out quick. And I tell you what, while this is heating up, I'm going to show you one of the other steps that we're going to do, which is we're going to crush some crackers. Real simple. Reuse a bowl. I'm going to need for one batch 1.5 cups of crushed saltine crackers. If you are trying to do low sodium or whatever, you can get the low sodium, but I use the original. I'm just going to dump these into this bowl. This may not work for everybody. I mean, I just crush them with my hands, but I'm also got big, meaty paws. There's other methods. You can put them in a bag, squish them with a rolling pin. You could gently food process them. You don't want to turn them into a powder. I do not know how many sleeves is equal to how many cups. I just kind of wing it. And if I have extra crumbs, I make fried fish or something. So I'm going to start here with 2 sleeves. Let's see where we get. Oh, I bet this would go for the ASMR crowd if I did it right. I'm not in the ASMR world. Not my jam. All right, pan's looking pretty hot. We're gonna go ahead and go in with our veg. Well, actually, like, watch this. It's hot. That's exactly what we want. We want to cook off all that water. And we want to soften the veg a little bit too. All right, we'll go in with the rest. You can see it's already, we've already just cooked a little bit of that liquid out already. Fantastic. One of the things I'm looking to do, I've got a couple ideas for fusion meatloafs. Meatloaf's pretty much kind of an American thing. But I think there's a couple, like you could do an Italian meatloaf, like with Italian flavors. I think that would be really fantastic. You could do like a Thai flavors meatloaf, and I think that would be absolutely delicious. Because I mean, you think Thai makes, you can get Thai meatballs, same flavor profile in a meatloaf. I think it would be fantastic. Let me know what you think. Hey, see, we got a couple big chunks of onion. Not a big deal. There's just a few. I just don't want tons of big onions in my meatloaf. All right, I'm gonna check my crackers. I am going to commit the mortal sin of using a wet measure for dry goods, because it'll be close enough. I tell you what, a sleeve is about 1 3/4 cups. So we're a little over the recipe, so we're at 3.5 cups for a double batch now. I think that's totally fine. We're gonna run with it. So 1 sleeve, one batch. All right, so you can see this is now very dry. A little bit of liquid still couldn't cut out of the veg, and it would for a while, but this is quite far along enough for us, for our purposes. So now we're ready to mix. What we're gonna do is start with basically our panade, which is gonna be our crackers and our milk. So I'm gonna put the milk in. Hopefully this bowl's gonna be big enough. That's 1.5 cups per batch, so 3 cups. And we're gonna go ahead and go in with all of our fun stuff that needs to be mixed through. So if it goes in the milk, it'll mix through easier. So 1 packet of Lipton onion. This stuff's fantastic for quick and easy meals. Since we're doing a double, 2 packs. Right in there. This doesn't call for a lot of salt because a lot of the things we're putting in here are salty. So it does call for some. So we're gonna go ahead and go in with about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon per batch, and a buttload of pepper. Completely up to you how much. I'm gonna do a bunch. There we go. All right, the recipe calls for one batch, 1/2 teaspoon of dried sage, like the rubbed sage. I don't have any of that today. I only have powdered, and powdered is a little stronger, so it's about twice as strong. So we'll do a 1/2 teaspoon in total for 2 batches. So if you only have ground sage, use a 1/4 teaspoon, because we're also going to add sage in the form of sage sausage, which we'll get to in just a minute. I'm going to give this a mix just to kind of get everything hydrated and moved around in here. There we go, pretty well done. Now, we're going to go in with our veg so we can cool it off. Give that a stir. What you don't want to do is stick your fingers into 200-degree vegetables. That's that. And now we're going to turn it into a panade by adding breadcrumbs, or cracker crumbs in this case. So if you really think about it, a meatloaf is just a gigantic meatball. Oh, we should preheat the oven. Preheat to 350. This doesn't have to be perfectly mixed because we're going to do some more mixing here in just a little bit with the meats. Then you can check and make sure it's not too hot. It is just warm now. All right, time for the meats. What I have here for one batch, 1 pound of Jimmy Dean sage sausage or any other sage sausage you can find. A lot of recipes call for ground pork. They don't specifically call for sausage. Why not add the extra flavor, which works really, really well. So we're going to go in with 2 since we're doing double. And for one batch, 1 1/4 pounds of ground beef. We have some nice ground chuck today. So 2.5 for today. And in we go. Now it's time to be gross. There is no real better way to do this than with your hands. You can try any other way you want, but it boils down to it's much easier to do with your hands. So just kind of do a grab and squeeze and knead kind of thing. And I told you I needed a bigger bowl. Normally do this in a big pot, but you guys wouldn't be able to see that very well. So I'm going to be very careful. And you are going to have to listen to all these squishy noises. This could be done in a stand mixer, probably not a double batch like this. Paddle attachment would work well, but I'm just going to make a mess instead. And this needs to be really well incorporated, or you'll get gross folly-a-party meatloaf. Like these lumps of beef that are still in here, that would be unpleasant. So we need to keep going until this is fairly homogeneous. With all this panade in here, it's almost impossible to overwork it, so don't worry about that. This table's going to need a wash down when I'm done. Definitely easier in a deeper vessel. Okay, so you see how this is starting to look sticky? That's actually what we want, because we want our meatloaf to be cohesive, not a crumbly mess. I don't make a lot of recipes of my own repeatedly, because I move on and make new ones. This is one that I get requested by my family over and over and over again. And I actually posted the recipe, the written recipe, before this video because people kept asking me for the recipe, and I was like, well, I haven't shot it yet. And they're like, well, but we need the recipe. So, all right. All right, this looks fantastic. Disgusting, but fantastic. Scrape my hands off here a little bit, and I'm gonna grab our loaf pans. All right, we're gonna make some slings. That's to lift the loaf out when it's done. I don't need to grease these, but I'm going to put a little oil in the bottom so the parchment sticks, so it's easier to work. We'll put that there. Make sure we have enough room to grip. Give it a little crease so it stays out of the way. So we don't want that sticking up. It might touch the burners, or it might just cook off if it sits up too high. So trim that off a little bit. There we go. Nice and out of the way. Grab our bucket of meat. Start filling. You want to make sure you get as little in the way of air pockets as possible, so make sure you're working into the corners. All right, so we don't want to fill over the top because you could get a little boiling over, which is why they have the main pan anyway, but we don't want them too high. So we'll flip this guy around, fill him up. I don't know why the pan's a he. I guess it just is because my brain. You can see there I missed a chunk. That'll be unfortunate. I can kind of maybe work it in a little bit right now, but that's the first one I saw, so that's pretty good, pretty happy. And this is designed for these 9x5s. This is a little small, so I'm not gonna be able to get all of this into these two. That's fine. I'll cook the rest off later in another batch, in this guy probably. So these are great. Now, there's a trick to forming these if you want them to have nice smooth tops. Get your hand wet and it won't stick to the meat as much. All right, so I got a little bowl of water here if I need to re-wet. And what I wanna do is kind of tuck the edges in, and we wanna smooth the top a little bit just to make it prettier. And it's easier to rotate the pan than it is your body, which I sometimes forget and find myself contorting myself. Here, I am pleased with my loaf shape. I'm gonna re-wet my hand because I'm starting to stick a little. And these will cook at different rates because they're different sizes, but I'll just pull the little one whenever it's done. And that's these ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna get these in the oven. I'll see you back when they're done. Meanwhile, I'm gonna make some mashed potatoes to go along with this and some skillet corn. So I'll see you in a while. Okay, that's heavy. One hand into the oven. Oh, that was almost bad, huh, guys? There they are. Kiss them goodbye. All right, we are done. This is the last one, the big one. I'm gonna try and do this without burning myself and hurting myself. Okay, we're on. I'm on the cell phone only right now. Also making some lovely gravy there. I've got some skillet corn to go with, and some mashed potatoes. I'll be right back. All right, the kitchen's an absolute wreck. It's been a mess in here. I made some mashed potatoes, some skillet corn, and the loaves came out of the oven at 3 different times. My little leftover baby over here made him into a football. It's kind of cute, right? That one was done first, obviously. There's one over there on that mess of a counter, but we're going to try and get this one out without breaking it. Kind of seems like it wants to break. I think because I did it in a bowl and not in a pan, I didn't work it well enough. But we're going to try and get her out of here without burning myself or breaking anything. Out it comes. I only made a little bit of a mess. I did drain most of the liquid out of this one to make the gravy. That's why there's only just a tiny bit of liquid in there. I should probably let this one rest, actually. So I'm going to bring the other one in to slice. I just wanted to show the kind of lift out technique that I use. A little bit of this, a little bit of a fish spatula underneath to get it out without tearing anything. Got one little bit there. Chef snack. So we'll swap this out for the less pretty board with the slightly cooled one. And we'll get a couple slices out of this and make a plate. There we are. And let's get some nice slices. Oh, look how pretty that is. You see all the bell peppers, little chunk of sausage there, I think. Use a pot to mix this in if you're hand mixing it. I think that's the thing I learned here is that I normally do that, and doing it in a bowl that was almost overflowing made it so I couldn't mix it quite as well. Make sure you get a good mix. This still looks really, really good. So let's get a couple of these onto the plate. Actually, you know what? We're going to take this whole little stack here, just like that, because I'm going to be a piggy. And we will whisk this away. This is the skillet corn. It's basically just corn butter, cooked down the canned corn liquid to make like a starch slurry so that it made like a sauce around the corn. And I'm going to put a little bit of that over here. I know it's double carbs, mashed potatoes and corn. Corn's not really a vegetable, but it's delicious. So, and mashed potatoes. I don't know if you can see in there. Nice big pile of Yukon Gold mashed potatoes with some blue cheese dressing in that gives it some tang and some nice flavor. There we go. Nice dollop. Probably could have centered that up a little better. And of course, gravy made from the drippings from the pans. It's got all that lovely sage and red bell pepper flavor and all the good stuff that a little bit cooks out. Do a little there. Just little gravies everywhere. Taste test, here we go. I've been excited. I've had this, more than any of my other recipes, I've made this recipe. I know what I'm about to have, but I'm still excited because it's so good. So I'm going to get in here, get a little corner off. Go meat and gravy only first. It's so good. It holds together really well. Even though I didn't get a very good mix on it, it's still holding it together pretty well. It's tender, flavorful, absolutely delicious. Please make this. Your family will love you for it. It's really easy to make this. Like the prep's a little bit of chopping and some whizzing up in a food processor. Not much to it. Just use a high-walled pan or pot to mix this instead of a shallow bowl that I use that made it really hard. If you do make it, tag me on Instagram or Facebook. It's Cooking with Squirrel, just like it is here on YouTube. And I would really love to see it. Since you made it this far, I would really appreciate if you do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the video and the channel grow, and I can bring you more videos. If you have any positivity in your life, please try and pay it forward. Go out, do something nice for somebody today, make the world a little bit better place. We could really use it right now. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, I want to throw this in here. This is a new shirt from my oldest nephew, Carter. I am a Marine, as most of you probably know if you've read my bio. So having a squirrel with a military uniform is very amusing. He made a lot of effort to find this shirt, to find a squirrel shirt that fit me. So thank you, Carter. I really, really like this one. If you would like to watch another video, if you check one out up here, this is what YouTube thinks you might like out of my videos. And if you want to watch my food and philanthropy videos, there's a playlist down here. That's actually why I made the channel, is the food and philanthropy videos. So food and philanthropy videos. So check those out. They're really cool. I'm going to have some more coming soon. I got a studio getting set up here in my dining room to be able to shoot them here in my house instead of my buddy's house. It'll just make it a lot easier.